What's up, guys? Welcome to Aledius Sports Talk. This is the Weekly Roundup. I'm your host, Enrique Aledius. Lots to get into this week. We're going to touch on Zach Wilson's performance against the Jets, even though it's a losing effort. I thought he played really well. We're going to talk about Justin Fields. We're going to touch on the Bills' dominance against the Dolphins, who hung 70 points against the Broncos last week, but this week they got dominated by the Bills. And we're going to talk about what's happening with the Bengals. I think there's a lot of issues there and a lot of questions there around Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and what's going to happen with their team in the future, and if they're going to make the playoffs even. But it's a lot to get into, and so let's get it going. This is a Weekly Roundup. So we're first going to talk about Zach Wilson and the Jets going up against the Chiefs here. I thought this game was really good, honestly. I thought, with all the talk of Zach Wilson basically being just destroyed by the media over the past week, and he comes out and he balls out in MetLife in front of Taylor Swift and Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively and Aaron was there too, which that was awesome. That was pretty cool to see Aaron there show up for the team. I think he gave a little speech, a little pep talk to the guys there, and just there was a lot of noise surrounding what was going on, right? And it's one of those things where, like, personally, I just at this point you feel bad for Zach. He's not playing that. He hasn't been playing that well, and it's been a while. We've seen a lot of them over the past couple of seasons, and it just hasn't been clicking. But I do think, like him with Aaron Rodgers now, you can start to see a little bit of an attitude shift, right? And even after this game, he took a lot of responsibility for the loss. He put it all on himself, and I think a lot of Jets fans remember last year, I think it was last year when he basically deflected a lot of the blame or all the blame, and he just said he didn't have a problem with what happened, with the loss last year. But this time around, you could tell like he was, and to me it seemed genuine, right? It seemed like he was saying, that loss was on me, and you can't fumble the ball like he did, and you can't, miss those throws. Like there was one possible touchdown, he just kind of overthrew it, I think, a little bit. And honestly, I thought he played very well, right? They came back. They tied the Chiefs 20-20 in the third quarter. There was that, I think, a completely missed and blown holding call, which I think that's a little bullshit that, the Chiefs, they tend to always get away with those kind of holding calls. And it's just, now the Jets did have, their share, I think, a little bit in this game too, of calls that were a little questionable, or missed calls that were questionable. But I just think with the Chiefs, you look at the Jawan Taylor thing from week one, it just starts to get loud of like, hey, how come the Chiefs are getting a little favor here, And so that I just really didn't like that Mahomes run was, I think, solely because of the fact that he had his his guard or tackle that they were holding the guy, and it was, I didn't think that was the right call. That was completely missed call, blown call. But also at the same time, Zach Wilson can't fumble the ball where he did, right? And that was the last 6 minutes of the game. I think it was like 6:30 or something, and he just fumbles the snap, and he explained how he was kind of looking over, I think, to the left, and just to check the protection or something like that, and I think Peyton Manning and Eli Manning touched on it on the Manning cast. But you can't have those fumbles and those mental errors in such a key game against the champs, and if you're playing against the champs, you have to be able to really tighten up. But I will say, for the most part, or for a large part of that game, I really thought Zach Wilson stepped up a lot. I thought he proved that he could be, there's potential there. It's hard to say after one game, right? Because if he sucks for the next 2, 3 weeks and 4 weeks, then this one game doesn't mean a whole lot. It just means that he had one good game, but that's it, and I think in a way, I think his career is a little bit on the line here, right? Because yes, I think Aaron Rodgers is coming back and he's going to be the guy for the Jets for the next, season or 2 seasons or however long he's staying. But I think this is a moment where Zach's like, hey, there's a future here for him if he plays well. I think what could possibly happen is if he plays really well, or plays, to the level that he did against the Chiefs, that sets him up to now be under the learning tree of Aaron Rodgers. And then hopefully when Aaron Rodgers is done, then we get a really finished product of what Zach Wilson will look like and what he'll be after he's done. And again, I touched on the last video where I feel like people are just torching him for, Joe Namath hopped on, everyone hopped on, but like, I feel like the plan all along was that the management and the coaches, they knew, and even Aaron Rodgers, they knew that like Zach Wilson is not a finished product at all right now. And part of Aaron's goal coming in was to be able to help him and kind of teach him and mold him into a really, really good QB. And with Rodgers getting hurt in the first week, it's like now you just push that timeline way up, and now people expectations are like, oh well, this guy sucks, like he's terrible. But meanwhile, it's like, well, the plan, yeah, of course, he wasn't good, and he still isn't as where he wanted to be. But the plan was always to wait a good year, a year and a half or two or whatever for him to develop, And but again, it's also, but the other side of it, which I also see, is like, he's been in the league long enough that at some point, he can't just always be developing. He has to kind of get there, or they got to get someone else. So I can see both sides of it. I just think though that with this game, I thought he played really, really well. I thought he had control of it. I thought, he had he was 28 for 39. He had 245 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had a career high QB rating of 105. I thought the way he orchestrated those touchdown drives, one was like a 41-yard touchdown drive, the other one was 75-yard touchdown drives. He converted. He did the 2-point play. I thought he just had control of the offense, of his offense, and you could see the team buy in. Right, the team was buying in, the defense was bought in, and it gains confidence all around, and it also gets your team to be. To believe in you. And you could tell that his team really had his back 100% by the end of that game. And a lot of them came to him and was like, hey, it's definitely not your fault. Or, you could just tell that was what was being told. But again, he took it on the chin. He said he took responsibility of it. He felt like he let his team down. And you just want to see that leader emerge from him, and you start to kind of see spurts of it now. But yeah, I thought he played really well. And I thought that a big part of why, he was able to play well was the coaching staff and just the way that the game was called, like the plays that were called, it really tailored around Wilson's like skill set, right? There's a certain way that Zach plays that, his strengths, he's not always just meant to be a sit back, drop back passer. It's a lot of quick plays. Sometimes when he hangs onto the ball too long, that's when he makes bad decisions, or that's when he'll exit out of the pocket in a way where it's just not that good. So, these quick plays that are drawn up, those are the ones that really help him. And you just need to be able to make the right scheme for him so that he shines, because you can't just expect him to be a quarterback that he's not. And that's one of the big things that I think helped him in this game was just you do have to give Nathaniel Hackett credit here. And honestly, I was on the side of like questioning whether Hackett was whether it was really good or not, because of the fact that, you have this guy who was with Aaron Rodgers for a long time. And then when he goes to Denver, he doesn't do well at all. And then he comes back to the Jets, or he comes to the Jets and he's back with Rodgers, but then he gets hurt and Wilson's not doing well at all. It's like, Aaron Rodgers is the common denominator here. So I think that, again, give him credit for the way that he handled this game with working with Zach and how they drew up plays and things like that. So we'll see what happens next week. I think with just the, moving forward with the Jets here, it's a thing that, you have to build on this momentum, right? Zach has to keep this going because I think the moment he has and he's such under a microscope, and I'm not talking about just like the New York meetup, not just talking about the New York media, but the media in general and everyone in general who's got eyes on what's going on with him. They put him on such a microscope now, and in some ways unfairly, but they do put him on a microscope now that. I'm sure the moment he has like 2 bad drives, 2-3 bad drives, or a bad quarter again in the next game, they're going to start questioning him again, right? There's going to be those questions that come up, and he's going to be held to such a standard. And it's a big game coming up, the Broncos game, right? Sean Payton with those comments, so that's just a big test for. And I also think like, hey, Hackett's going to come in. He's going to be a little bit, full of piss and vinegar here because of Peyton, what he said, and all that. So like, well, it's going to be an exciting matchup. I think actually it's going to be a definite game to watch on Sunday, where we'll see how the Broncos. They won a game. They bounced back a little bit. I guess they kind of pulled one over the Bears there, but like we'll see how Zach Wilson, Nathaniel Hackett, what they do, what they scheme up, and how they attack that Broncos defense. Because right now the Broncos defense, hey, there's a chance there that they could actually get some points on the Broncos defense, because that defense has been struggling as of late. But again, overall, I thought that this game, just in terms of Zach Wilson's performance, he outplayed Mahomes, right? And that's a very, very rare thing. Mahomes had, 203 passing yards. He had 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, but this is what makes guys like legends like Mahomes legends, is that they have a bad game, but he still wins. He still has enough football IQ to know how to basically ice the game at that last scramble he did. So when you have that, and you have that ability to still come out with a win regardless of playing poorly. And I think you got to give a lot of credit to Isaiah Pacheco this game, though, New Jersey's own, hometown boy. You got to give a lot of credit to him. I think he carried the Chiefs this game. And yeah, I mean, it's surprising turn. Once that safety happened, the games just started to change, and you could feel it. Everyone saw it, and they just started to roll. Mahomes really, he threw those interceptions, or he threw that one interception, gained some momentum. But last thing I'll say with Zach Wilson is like, I do hope that we start to see him gain that level of momentum and rhythm within a game without having to rely on the other team's mistakes to get there, right? Because what we've seen with Zach Wilson, again, with the Bills game, Josh Allen didn't play well. And I think this was touched upon in ESPN's First Take or Get Up, actually. I think Rex Ryan touched on this. And it's like, he plays well when he's given these like really good opportunities within a game, right? Like, he takes advantage of the fact that other team will throw multiple interceptions, so it brings his team closer to the end zone. Mahomes interceptions, defense makes good stops, right? But like, we want to see Zach Wilson be able to drive the ball down the field, and have a good rhythm and do it on consistent drives or in consistent quarters without needing some fortunate bounce to happen, right? So we'll see how that goes. But again, I was very impressed by Zach Wilson's performance. I really thought he played really well, shut up a lot of the doubters for just a game. All right, again, it's only one game, so we'll see how this pans out moving forward. But I think it's a really good starting point. And of course, right, there's no more victories and all that stuff that they say there, but still, I do think there is a lot to take away from this game. If you're a Jets fan, I think there is a sense of hey, there is something there. There's a spark there. Now let's just make it, let's keep it going, right? And let's hopefully carry it on until Rodgers comes back. So we'll see how that goes for them. All right, now we're going to touch on Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears' just heartbreaking loss to the Denver Broncos. Denver Broncos come back to win the game. At one point, I think the score was, 28-7 or something like that. And the Bears just let this one slip. This one was really tough, I think. I think this one and the Zach Wilson loss, these were two tough games in this past weekend to watch, just because for me, I'm watching Justin Fields ball out, right? He is just, he throws for 300 yards, and he has this amazing game. And it's one of those things where, you could just feel like he's like gaining momentum. He's getting that like, confidence, similar to Zach Wilson, right? He's getting confidence. But this time though, he's a different quarterback than Zach Wilson. Like Justin Fields is running, he's making good throws. He's finding his connections there with his guys on his team. Cole Kmet. I mean, it's a lot of the things that people were hoping Justin Fields would be. I feel like we started to see it a little bit in this game. And, he was 28 for 35. Khalil Herbert had a big game too. Just the whole team. DJ Moore had 131 yards receiving. Just a lot of the things that the Bears needed to do, they did. But then they just defensively, it didn't like. They couldn't keep the Broncos down. And then, of course, Justin Fields with the fumble. It just that sums up, I feel like, the Bears in their whole season, and almost like Justin Fields' like tenure here a little bit is, you have such a good game and there's so much, I guess, hype or attention given to him, especially in this game with given his comments about just like feeling robotic. And we saw him break out. Like we saw him go move around the pocket, go scramble, go do what he had to do to be himself here. And even then, it just still wasn't enough. They kind of fumbled the ball, no pun intended, but like they fumbled the game there. Like it's a hard pill to take, I think, if you're a Broncos fan, because you look at the potential for this team and coming into the season. I feel like there were so many things that a lot of the fans and a lot of the analysts and media, they were just looking at the Bears feeling like, okay, this is a different Bears team. Like there is somewhat of a chance here for them to at least just be, better than we were in years past, and to, have like a winning season, at least be above 500. Right. And it just hasn't happened for them in any in any way, really. And, I think it's just like for them, this is the first time the Bears have, they're 0-4 for the first time since like 2000. And, I think like the OC, Lou Getsy's probably on the hot seat. Justin Fields is definitely on the hot seat. I think at this point, right, like, are they just going to, and I hate to say tank, but are they just going to look at, all right, we're going to get Caleb Williams, like that's the Bears are looking to get Caleb Williams. Justin Fields is on his way out. And, you look at that and just the way that this whole thing has kind of turned out, it has been a really tough stretch for the Broncos. And it's been so just agonizing to watch a team. And again, there's a lot of things going off the field that they have to deal with. But you look at this team that they seem to have had it this game. They seem to have put things together, only for it in the end to kind of just like fall apart and lose. Justin Fields threw for 4 touchdowns and 335 yards, right? Like if you were to tell someone that, okay, he's going to have that stat line, I don't think you would think that he would lose, right? I don't think you would look at it and go, yeah, that's going to be a loss, and credit to the Broncos for just sticking in it. And Russell Wilson, he had a good game himself. He had 223 yards, 3 touchdowns. They capitalized themselves on mistakes the Broncos made and the fumble and the turnovers, things like that. But this game was the Bears' game to win. They had it right there, and there was that confidence going, and the story of it all. And for me, unfortunately, I kind of think that this game was the one that is going to make Justin Fields, be sent away. Like I think this was the game that, if he played well, like if they won this game with how well he was playing, if nothing else, like I think this showcases other teams the potential you have in a Justin Fields, and I don't know right now the teams that would possibly go get him. I can't think of maybe Atlanta off the top of my head. I know that was also talked about on other shows and everything, but that seemed like a good fit maybe for them. But I think in terms of just where the Bears stand and where Bears management stands, I think they have eyes already on Caleb Williams, and I think they're pulling strings and trying to see who has interest in maybe getting Justin Fields, because at this point, it doesn't seem like whatever's going on with the coaching, Fields' play, the style, all that stuff. This game was really, a good showcase, I think, of how to use Justin Fields, and I'm just very surprised that they haven't done that. They haven't done what they did in this game in previous games. I think it's interesting to you see a game like this and you're like, how come they don't do that all the time? How come you don't let Justin Fields just run? He rushed for 25 yards, but he was very mobile in the pocket, and he has I think he does have a good arm. Regardless that maybe he doesn't get that reputation for being that good of a quarterback. I just think that there's pieces of his game that are really good. It's just putting it all together and having that rhythm and flow within the team. That's the difficult part of this all, and they haven't been able to do that and by any stretch in this season, by the past couple seasons. So it's a tough situation. It's a really shitty situation for Fields, I think, because I thought he played really well. He had his best career stats, 16 straight completions. He was pre-snap motion, play action, bootlegs. These are plays that are good for Fields. And you had DJ Moore, good target. Cole Kmet, he was connecting with. Darnell Mooney, he was connecting really well with. He just had these really good drives and good plays. Again, he used his legs a lot, and just the fourth quarter when that came, it became such a really massive failure or breakdown. And especially that one interception with Cole Kmet and Justin Fields. So I think Justin Fields was trying to throw it a little further down, but I think Cole Kmet kind of stopped. He kind of stopped there. And I think Justin Fields overthrew that one. I'm not sure who exactly that was on, but probably just, again, lack of communication there. And, those are the plays those are killers. And they did not need that at this moment in time, but it happened. And, it's just, again, like I said, it's a shitty situation. Hopefully this doesn't really derail Justin Fields' confidence too much. I think that, him as a player, he has potential. He has a lot of he has good amount of upside in the right system and with the right kind of personnel. But I just feel like this could be it for him. I feel like he may not be with the Bears next year. I think they're gonna make moves to kind of move on from him. And yeah, it's been just this endless, apparently seemingly endless cycle of these kind of games for the Bears. And just at some point, I think the fans and management and all that, there's just, you got to probably cut the cord here and move on. So we'll see what they do, and we'll see how things turn out for them. But again, tough situation for two QBs like Zach Wilson or Justin Fields, who played really well. But at the end of the day, the stat sheet is just that, right? It's just the stat sheet, but what matters is the wins and losses, and you're judged on the wins and losses. And as good as they played, they couldn't get the job done. And unfortunately, that's kind of what people are going to look at. And their critics and their haters are just going to keep still piling on and to, he still lost the game, or look at the fumble, or look at the interception. And, it's weird how both of them have the similar game breaking, momentum shifting fumble or turnover. And, that's just a big part of both their games, and how it's they had the win, or they had the opportunity right at their fingertips, and just like that, fumble, a turnover, a bad decision here and there, and it just changes everything, So I do think that, credit to the Broncos for coming back and taking advantage, but I also think that the Bears defense, they definitely also deserve some of the blame here a little bit for just giving up just that breakdown that they did. But also you look at those turnovers that Fields had, and that really cost them too. So just tough situation there, but we'll see how they can turn things around. The Bears do not have an easy schedule coming up, I don't think, but Actually, they play the Commanders. Well, and they're not a team to kind of just take lightly either. They just came off of a really close win against the Eagles, or a close game. They lost to the Eagles, and so they're gonna be a tough situation if Justin Fields doesn't have his A game like he did against the Broncos. And then the Bears play the Raiders, and then they got next Raiders and the Chargers. So those are kind of still two. Raiders, we'll see what happens with them, but those are 3 upcoming games that they have to, and they got the Saints after that. So yeah, the Bears have their work cut out for them. But I hope that Fields just carries this momentum the same way too with Zach Wilson, right? Both these guys, I hope they just carry this momentum along with them, because they both deserve to win. They both deserved, I thought, a better outcome than they got. That doesn't always work out that way. But sometimes that's just the nature of the game, and how sometimes it gets to be that shitty situation. But yeah, I mean, this game, the story here with Fields was that I thought he played really well. I thought he really played just his style of game and the kind of Justin Fields that a lot of people were expecting, but they just couldn't come out with a win. So hopefully, though, the turnaround this upcoming week keeps some momentum, and this time the Bears can hopefully pull out a win against the Commanders. But we'll see, because the Commanders are also looking pretty good too. All right, now we're going to touch on some, I thought, standout performances that we had in this week 4. Now we're going to talk about the Bills. The Bills. They put their stamp on them being the team right now in the NFL, alongside the Chiefs or alongside the Niners. But you talk about coming in, the Dolphins with momentum, 70 to 20, whatever the score was, and the Bills put up, it was 48 points, right? 48 points on the Dolphins there, and you had, I thought, Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs were key standout performances in that week. I think that they showed that they are still very dominant, and they are the team. And you had really good performances. You had good play by Gabe Davis too, another touchdown. Again, Josh Allen, just such good mobility there. He was just seeing the ball really well, seeing the passes, seeing the plays, and Stephon Diggs also played really well too. Just overall, right? So Allen ends with 21 of 25 completions, multiple touchdowns. I think that the way that they play the game, the Bills using play action, he was 9 of 11 for 206 yards. Josh Allen, just great game all around for the Bills there. He got 2 touchdowns. And I think that, their use of motions and empty formations there it creates matchups against a team like the Dolphins. And I was surprised, because the Dolphins, I thought defensively they would be in a good spot. I thought defensively they would be able to keep up with the Bills, but they couldn't. Yeah, and there was just very bad tackling throughout the game. They couldn't get that 2-point conversion, which would have made it huge for them, just in terms of just trying to crawl back in it. So it kind of, the score at that point, I think, became 31-20. And yeah, like the Dolphins defense, I don't think they were able to really adapt to the way the Bills schemed their offense up. And that's also credit to the coaching staff by the Bills, and also the Bills defense, right? Like, you had a really huge interception by Micah Hyde, and just the ability to stop the run. I think you credit Milano, Bernard. These guys are just so good, right, for the Bills, and you have to be able to stop the onslaught that Miami that they've proven that they can show against teams. And the Bills were able to do that this game. The Bills were able to really just take control of the game. I thought, there was a point in the game where you felt like it could maybe go either way, and there, it was still kind of somewhat close, but then you just realize that the Bills were just going to take the game over, and they just dominated, and they took it away. A notable, unfortunate, really just sad situation here is Tre'Davious White. I think it's confirmed now that he has a season-ending Achilles injury. And I think, when I was watching that play, just such a classic reaction to when you tear your Achilles, is, you look back and you act as if someone, I think, like dropped something on your ankle. That's like the telltale sign that you probably tore your Achilles. And when I saw that, he was like running and he looked backwards, and that just felt like everyone kind of knew, okay, that's probably an Achilles. And I know they mentioned probably an ankle, but it was probably an Achilles there. So that's a really big loss for the Bills, and they don't have Von Miller just yet. So just all around, the Bills, big win, but that's a very tough loss, for them on the defensive side. And then they're starting to roll, right? Slow start against the Jets, but then they're starting to roll now, and they're starting to pick up momentum. And Josh Allen has proved, I think, for the past 3 weeks that he is, I don't know, maybe one of the best players in the league, up there with, a couple of guys in the 49ers, up there with Mahomes, although, again, Mahomes didn't play that well this week. But I think that, Josh Allen he got some criticism early on in the season for throwing those classic Josh Allen interceptions and throwing the ball up and basically punting the ball away. But, in past 3 weeks, man, he has shown he is here, and he is just dominant, and he is really, really proving why he's one of the best players in the league, if not right now the best. So credit to them, credit to the Bills, big win against them. I think Miami's going to turn it around though, so I'm not too worried about them. Now, turning our attention over to another stand-up performance, in my opinion, Christian McCaffrey, right? I mean, this guy scored 4 touchdowns. He broke a personal record, team record. He got 93 total yards and 3 touchdowns in just the first 2 49ers possessions. That is unfucking believable. Right, he ended the game with 106 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns on 20 carries. I mean, this guy is like, I wonder what the Niners would have looked like without him. And this guy is just an unreal talent right now, and it's so cool to see. Like, I'm glad that he was able to have this opportunity with the Niners and showcase just really how good he is, because he is proving just, I don't know, time and time again, ever since he joined the Niners, of how valuable he is and how incredible he is. And I don't know, you kind of think like, this is what the Panthers have been, this is what they've had for a long time, but you never got to see it until he's finally in a system with Kyle Shanahan that really showcases his ability. So, and he even made, he made 7 catches for 71 yards. So he got a receiving touchdown. At halftime, this guy already had 53 rushing yards on 10 carries with 2 touchdowns. So again, he just keeps showing that he is one of the, you talk about best players in the league, Josh Allen, and I know the MVP award does always mostly go to quarterbacks, but he's making a case for him being MVP, because this guy is unreal. He is unreal. Incredible game he had there. Again, also credit to Brock Purdy. He's playing really well too. But I think that's just the performance of, McCaffrey, and the way he hurtled over too. That was an awesome little highlight there. But yeah, he's just playing really well. He's playing awesome. And I think that the Niners just keep rolling, right? They just keep rolling. And he set the record for 13-game touchdown streak. That's a new 49ers franchise record. Last time the last record was held was by Jerry Rice, since 1987. So he had 12 straight games with touchdown. So yeah, I mean, you look at this Niners team and you don't know who can stop them, because if it's not McCaffrey, it could be Kittle. If it's not Kittle, it could be Debo. If it's not Debo, it could be Brandon Ayuk, right? And it just the way that these guys are loaded, it's insane to watch, right? They are honestly just pure entertainment when you have to watch the Niners game, because there's just so many weapons. And also Brock Purdy, in my opinion, he is a dog, and he is a guy that I know people want to credit the system. I mean, of course, when you've got that talent around you and you've got McCaffrey, of course you don't have to do as much, right, as compared to other QBs with maybe a limited weapon set, whatever. But still, you need a guy under center, and you look what happened when Jimmy G or Trey Lance is there, and they didn't have as much success as they had with Brock Purdy. So I really think Brock Purdy deserves a lot of credit, for being able to thrive in this system, and so I Niners definitely, with Christian McCaffrey there, huge performance this past week, and big win for them, and they just keep rolling. Again, like I said, like they just keep rolling, and they have a lot of momentum coming in. I don't know who it's going to take one of these incredible efforts and from these teams or from other teams in the league to stop them, because I don't know who can stop them. They just keep rolling, so it's pretty incredible to watch. All right, now we're going to touch on the Bengals, and I have no idea what is happening with the Bengals. To see them start out this way, granted, like Joe Burrow, his injury, probably a huge factor in just everything that's happening in terms of just team morale, the ability to get plays going, just the lack of confidence that's happening within the team. It seems like everything is just not going the Bengals' way. And for a team that like last year or in the past couple of years has been in Super Bowl talks, to start out the way they've started out, like they were on the brink of being 0-3 last week, and this week you felt like going into it there was some level of confidence and hope that they would just pick it back up and get it going. But this game they didn't. Like there was nothing to be happy about if you're a Bengals fan. There was nothing to be encouraged about, I felt like. Joe Burrow's play hasn't been that good. It could be a calf injury is probably affecting everything about how he's playing, how he's feeling, just all these things, but he'll never show it, right? He's just very, he keeps it to himself. He's very just, calm and cool about everything. But still, like, it's not looking good. Like the product on that field is not good if you're a Bengals fan. He had 4.8 yards per attempt. Not a lot of accuracy on the deep ball, through 20 for 30 for 165 yards. And it's just historically a pretty bad start compared to his career numbers. And so you're not looking at a really encouraging stat line for the Bengals. And the team themselves, they couldn't generate anything. They got crushed 27-3, only scoring 49 points over the past 4 games. And that's like the lowest in nearly 2 decades, I think it is. And, you could just tell that they're not the same like aggressive team that they used to be. They started the game off with just a field goal, being cautious about it. And then they only gained like 84 yards, total yards after that. And, you're looking at a team that they're playing Cardinals next, and Cardinals with Josh Dobbs, they're starting to roll and really feel it, and they're staring down. The Bengals are staring down a potential like 1-5 record right now, I think. And at some point too, right? If Joe Burrow is hurt, or 1-4 record, excuse me. But if Joe Burrow's hurt and he can't, really play the way that the team needs him to play, I don't know, do you start thinking about sitting him? Because and I hate to even throw that out there, because it's almost like you're just punting the season, and we're only at week 5, or it would be week 6 if they can't win next week. Like, we're so early in the season, and I just don't like even, going to that conclusion. But I guess it really just depends on how severe the injury is to Burrow's calf, and what's the prognosis on, is it going to get better? When would it get better? Can they afford to not have him play so that he can heal up? Who's behind him, and like, meaning like, are they ready? I don't even know who the backup quarterback is. I probably should know, but like, just overall, like, how much bleeding can they withstand here? Because I just think a healthy Burrow is the most important thing for the success of the Bengals. And, if they can't get that, I just don't think that their chances are really good for this season. I think the team morale is pretty low. I think there's a lot of frustration. You heard Jamar Chase say, like, yeah, I'm always fucking open, right? And, it's just, he's pissed off, right? He wants the ball. He wants the team to win. Everyone wants the team to win. I think Zach Taylor, he called the situation unacceptable, just in general with everything going on with the game. And, you also look at him, like, is he in the hot seat, right? Like, there's this couple coaches now that are staring down, pretty potentially bad losing records here. And you wonder if they're at all in the hot seat with just the way that they've handled the situation, things like that. But it's, even though in years past, like the Bengals, like last year, they started 4-4 and they kind of really, went on a good run there. but this season just feels worse. It doesn't even feel like they have a sense of belief in themselves or in like the system that they're doing. Because again, I feel like it starts with Burrow, and he seems hurt, or it seems like he is hurt, but he seems like he's not playing the same way that he was playing before, or that he's capable of playing. And so I think that has a big toll on the confidence that the team can have, right? Because even you heard it too when before last week, I think Jamar Chase or a couple of the receivers were like, yeah, they don't think he's going to play. They were pretty cautious about whether or not Burrow was going to play. And when your own team kind of knows how bad the injury is, I think it does affect morale and confidence, because you're like, oh man, he really is hurt. This isn't something he's just going to fight through and be successful, right? It's going to be difficult for him to push through this one. So, that has an effect on the team. Also, if you look at the defensive side of the ball, the defense is not living up really to what coming to the season expectations were. They can't even slow down the other teams here. It's like there's no one really stepping up. And for the Bengals defense, like you would hope that there would be some player make a big play, make a big tackle, big play, something. Haven't really gotten that yet. So it's just a lot of on all aspects of the ball here in the game here for the Bengals. It has not been going well, and it's just these start to pile up, and when they pile up, it really could just, it could turn out to be a really, really bad season for them if they don't at least get a handle on things and, again, start to find that momentum for themselves. And it just sometimes takes like one or two plays, maybe a good quarter, and then it starts to build on it. And then they find a rhythm within their receivers and Burrow. And again, we thought they felt that with last week's game. I thought that they felt that last week's game. I thought they were kind of starting to get into the groove a little bit, but maybe, I don't know, maybe the injuries are starting to pile up, and it just really is affecting them in a tough spot, in a tough way. So and their schedule moving forward is not easy, right? Moving forward, who do they got this week? They got Cardinals. Like I said, Cardinals they're good. They're starting to get momentum. They got the Seahawks after that, who they're a tough team to play against. And then you got the let's see. Well, they are on a bye on week 7, so that's good for them in terms of hopefully they can get some healthy guys. And then on week 8, they play the Niners, which is really like the ultimate like test right there for them. So you got Cardinals, Seahawks, Niners, right? In a bye week after the second one of that. So, I think they just have to withstand right now the Cardinals. They just have to, if they can just pull off a win. I think if they just, I would like to say just go 1-1, but I think they have to win both. They have to win both these games to keep themselves in a good spot heading into the Niners game. But we'll see what adjustments they make and how the players come out right now, because it did not look good. And, if they can't find answers soon, then this season may be a very, very disappointing one for them after coming off of a very cool and awesome run last year that they went on in the past couple of years. So, we'll see. I don't know. The outlook doesn't look too good, but who knows? Maybe the Bengals can turn around again and come back with another epic season for themselves. So that's it, guys. Thanks for joining our weekly roundup here at Aledius Sports Talk. I'm your host, Enrique Aledius. If you liked it, hit the like button and be sure to subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Stay tuned for more videos for this upcoming NFL season, also an NHL season. I make content on that. I also try to include maybe other videos like basketball, NBA, even wrestling, some racing, things like that. But for now, I'm sticking to NFL and NHL, but stay tuned. If you like the video, hit subscribe, and I'll catch you guys later.